Okay, guys, so what we have today is, first of all, welcome to this educational webinar on League of Legends presented to you by Alex Sharks and MoreLegends.com. Now, for the newcomers to this channel, my friend Sharks here is the coach for Team Giant since January 2018, the jungler mastermind, and an all-around nice guy. So he'll be the main presenter today, and I'm Alex, aka Octo Crash, and I'm going to be looking for your, or rather at your comments on the chat here, and just keep the conversation going, trying to learn something new, of course. So today we're going to talk about something that we really want to know, all of us League of Legends players, is how to raise your rank in a very short time. Well, I'm not sure we can give you the silver bullet, but we'll try to do that anyways. So, as you know, guys, Season 8 is about to end on November 12th, and we are dropping into the preseason for 2 or 3 months after that. And this is your kind of chance to climb the rank ladder and to improve your rank, to climb up to, Diamond Challenge of Reminet. And we're trying to help you with that today. And just, I think, Sharks, let's go through the overall plan.
All right.
And
Sure.
what we're going to talk about.
So the main topic, of course, like how to gain or raise your ELA fast, because it's with 10 days left, even like we need to make this as fast as possible, as efficient as possible, so people can queue up right after our, let's say, video. And the main topics are, let's say, if habits that can benefit you and can benefit your teammates in order to win games, vision, pings, how to deal with loose streaks, how important the minimap is, and how can you use minimap correctly in order to gain elo. Then team communication, how to improve your team communication. We're going to talk a little bit about general mistakes when people are not communicating and why it's bad just to completely give up communication with the rest of your teammates in solo queue. And then end of the season mindset, fighting against, let's say, toxic teammates and fighting against people who are giving up in solo queue as well, right? And the last one, of course, is the drafting stage when you choose a champion. How to have a higher chance after the lobby, after you select your champion, and how to, let's say, get some benefits during the champion select. So that's gonna be our eight main points that we're gonna talk about.
Yeah, I think that's about 8 points, and then in the end, guys, you'll have a chance to ask your questions if you have any by the end of our kind of webinar. And so basically, if you kind of get it, we are going to talk about the general, let's say, general good gaming practices and what you got to be doing in order to climb up the rank ladder. So yeah, I guess we should start with.
We can start with a simple one about the good habit of timing summoner spells. How can it benefit you, and how can it benefit your teammates, right? So I'm gonna go ahead, join a practice tool custom game really fast, and give you guys a good example and explain why it should benefit you in case you are not doing it yet. Because let's say, even when playing in high challenger solo queues or like diamond solo queues, the lower, let's say, their ranking is, the less I see people timing summoner spells. Like in platinum or like gold or silver elo, the maximum number of players who time summoners is probably like 1 out of 100. You're lucky if one of your teammates actually time summoners, not just pings it. Like, okay, like this guy doesn't have flash, and if you see your jungler like ping a mid laner flash, most likely like he doesn't have flash. Like, it's not like jungler just pinging it for fun. So let's join a practice tool really fast, and I'm gonna show you guys how to time summoners efficiently and how your teammates can benefit from it.
Yeah, that's like something that very few people do in my experience. So
yeah, even the pro players, like whenever I start working with rookies, like rookies are so lazy. Like they think competitive League of Legends is fun, like 24 hours a day you just do what you love. But on the real side, like 70% of the time you're actually doing the stuff that you hate. Even I remember there was a famous tweet from Bjergsen. It was like a couple years ago when Bjergsen was saying, like, upcoming pro players, if you guys are thinking that being a pro player is a dream, that's false statement. Most of the time you're doing the stuff that you actually don't want to do. So
yeah, that's hard work, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So I just join a game. You guys will be able to see it in a second.
All right.
Practice tool. I don't know why I have Ezreal. I mean, I don't want to hear any memes in the chat due to it. So let's join a game. You guys will be able to see it in a second. All right. Practice tool. I don't know why I have Ezreal. I mean, I don't want to hear any memes in the chat due to it. So let's join a game. You guys will be able to see it in a second. All right. So let's say I'm just gonna level up level 6. Let's say so. Move to mid lane. Let's say we're mid lane. We're facing a mid laner, right? The guy. Let's say the guy flashed, right? What you guys can do in order
Okay.
to trigger your jungler to come mid lane. Let's say you can just go. Oh, unfortunately, I cannot press his flash, right? Let's say you can go in here and like press his flash. It will show up in the chat, and your jungler will say, let's say if he checks out the chat, most likely he'll see that you pinged enemy mid laner flash 3 times. So maybe when he'll finish his raptor camp, he'll be like, okay, I have some time to gank, so maybe I should go mid lane and try to give Ezreal like 350 gold or maybe a shutdown. Another way, let's say it's a simple way, right? It's at
Right.
least what every single player should do in order to communicate with his team properly. But in case you actually want to be like, let's say, pro player kind of, what you can go, let's say, if he flashed around, let's say, minute 8, right? Minute 8, enemy mid laner flashed. The timing of flash is 5 minutes. So it means his flash will be back up in 30 minutes, right? So what you can do, you press enter, you go chat, you type 1300. You can do it with space, without space, doesn't matter. Mid F, then you press, when you're done though, you press Control A, you press Control C. Control A does, it selects the full text that you have, Control C copies it, and then you press enter, then you press enter again, then you paste what you copied before, you do it again. Let's say if you're a jungler and your mid laner does like this, I'm kind of forced to go mid lane because my mid laner does everything for me. I don't need to think. All I need to do is come, press my buttons. I know that enemy mid laner has no flash and just get a free gold, right? So that, just imagine how easy it would be for a
All
jungler
right. Yeah.
to help you snowball the game if he would know all the flashes in all lanes, right? Like he can build his jungle pass around that. He can go for more aggressive plays because when he, let's say, is looking to dive mid laner, he actually, let's say, if you don't time it or if you don't make him aware, or if he didn't, usually when people like jungling on gold, platinum, silver, elo, they're not looking lanes while they're clearing camps, they're looking camps, so he doesn't know what's going on in mid lane. So when you do this, let's say he goes for aggressive plays, he goes here, he can actually, flash aggressively because he has information that enemy mid lane doesn't have flash. So I think it's super important habit for all the roles that will benefit you and your teammates. Because let's say I just showed an example that can benefit your teammate, right? But what happens to me as well? Let's say enemy mid laner flash around 8 minutes, but you didn't time it right. It's around 12:30, 12:50, and you're like, can I kill him or not? I'm not sure if he has flash up or not, right? But
Yeah.
if you time it right away, then you for sure you know how many seconds you have in order to pull out the play. Then there's a small note for you guys to time summoners correctly. Let's say there is a skirmish, right, and you still need to clear the wave, and it takes you a little bit long, like to actually type everything in chat. What you can do, you can first go and click the flash, and then just to see the timing, right? Because in chat it shows you the 3:43. I just click flash ready. So then, let's say when you're recalling, you're going to base to get an item, you can check what time you pinged it, and then you can time from that moment, plus 5 minutes. Let's say at 8:43, enemy mid laner flashed. So it's the, let's say the most useful, simple things that you can change. You don't need practice, you don't need anything. All you need to do is clearly think first. Question number 1: you actually want to gain elo? Question number 2: is it helpful? Then the simple answer is yes, because I just gave you clear 3 examples why you should do it, and then you'll just start doing it. Maybe as a reminder, you can use Notepad on your PC, or you can use an application called Sticky Note, just to make sure that before you go into your final week of solo queue, before the season ends, you do the stuff to make sure you're a better player than you were before.
Yeah, nice. So what I get from here is that, well, general practice, guys, learn your, summon spells cooldowns and learn to time them. And that goes not only for Flash, but for things like teleport and other things as well. So that does give you an advantage in lane or in the jungle or anywhere else, because if you know that the enemy can flash out, it's pretty easy to gain advantage of that. Now, before we move on to the next topic, we've got some more people joining us, guys, and as we're talking about climbing the rank ladder, maybe you can text us of where you come from and what rank you currently have. That would be nice to see in the chat. Meanwhile, I think, Sharks, let's move on to the next very important thing, which is vision. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
we should move.
we'll move to vision, but of course, like we timed only flashes. We should add that you should you should time everything else as well, especially
Yeah,
in your lane.
absolutely.
Don't forget that teleport is 6 minutes, heal is 4 minutes if I'm not mistaken, 3.5. And don't forget about the small note that there is a rune that decreases the cooldown of your summoner spells by 5% if you take it in the inspiration tree. Then all the summoners will be a little bit less. So other than that,
Yeah.
yeah, we can move on. But the most important one, flashes. Even if you time flashes only, such a good habit will benefit you. It will benefit you a lot if you're gonna play some clashes with your friends as well, right? Because in team
Yeah.
play, it's even more important because you can play around it.
Yeah,
So
true. So to kind of sum it all up, let's say that if you want to start with timing your summoner spells, you better focus on flash. And then if you want to take it to another level, just guys keep track of all the summoner spells cooldowns. Okay?
right, so let's move to vision, right? Why
Yeah,
is
sure.
vision important, and why is vision really important, especially when gaining elo? Whenever I'm playing right now, and right now what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to get challenger on both of my accounts. I've already lost 3 promos to challenger on my main account right now, and a little bit triggered, but it's fine. It happens. I'm still keeping the right mindset. I'm still grinding, so I'm no doubt that I'm gonna get it by the end of the season. Uh, and I feel like whenever I'm snowballing, I feel like the pink wards is the reason why I win. Because let's say so when you're winning, when you're trying to gain elo, you're winning your lane. You're like pushing enemy mid laner, and you can move around the map, right? Let's say so I push my mid laner. I can go here, right? I can go here,
Oh, yeah.
and I can roam mid lane. I can try to catch mid laner on rotation towards bot side. I can try to catch mid lane on rotation towards blue buff. I might catch enemy jungler, but if I'm not sure that it's not worded, that if it's worded, then my play can be completely doomed because they just know my position is right. So
Oh, yeah.
whenever I'm within a lane and I have additional gold, there is no way, I'm just gonna like leave the base with 200, 100 gold. I'm always gonna buy a pink ward, and I'm always gonna like put it for the side that I want to pressure. Let's say if I want to pressure bot side, I want to roam bot lane. I'm gonna come here, set a pink ward here to make sure that I can control crap, I can control mid lane rotation, I can make sure that enemy bot lane is not aware of my rotation, especially here. And it depends, right? It depends how long your timer is and how much you want to pressure. Because sometimes you can just put a pink ward here and you can just go in no vision, right? Because if enemy
Yeah.
mid laner didn't ward it, then it's gonna be like a no vision for him here. And you can move here or you can just stay here. But even if you're sitting here, let's say if your roam timer is low and you're just sitting on pink ward, enemy bot lane most likely doesn't know that you're just sitting on pink ward, right? They might be panicking if, let's say, if enemy bot lane is here, they're like, oh, like we cannot push, right? Because enemy mid laner might move, so they'll have to back out. But if you see them not backing out, you can just keep roaming, teleport.
Yeah.
I wish you could do that, right? Solo kill
Yeah.
and just kill enemy bot lane. So it's one of the aspects why vision is really important to pressure other lanes. I feel like due to the skill difference and you focusing better than enemy mid laner, you win in the matchup. It wins your lane, but with the proper vision, with the proper pink wards, you can actually pressure the other lanes and help your top laner, your jungler, or your bot lane just let's say win their lane, or even like get rid of the disadvantage that they had due to pressure through pink wards.
Yeah, fair enough. So obviously, vision is really important, but at the same time, there's been research that wards win games for you. But the trick is that it doesn't just happen like that. You've got to be constantly paying attention to the minimap, right? Because one thing is just providing vision for yourself and for your own team, but at the same time, you've got to utilize it correctly. It's not just about warding; it's about
Correct.
using. Yeah, so maybe we can talk a bit about that. Like, how do we? Okay, guess we provided that we've got vision. We've got some important parts of the map warded. How do we? I mean, we've got to be checking the minimap, right? And
Sure.
are there any good practices that we can probably
Uh,
discuss now?
let's say you kind of have to force yourself first of all, and it's all about reminding yourself just to look at minimap. And there are different ways how to remind yourself. The ones that I'm using whenever I'm playing, whenever I'm grinding elo, I'm just let's say using a sticky note where I put the list of the stuff that I want to work on. And let's say if I feel like I'm dying too much to jungle ganks, even if it's worth it, I'm like, okay, I need to force myself to look at minimap more. So I'm just like making sure that I like look at it every auto attack or every 3 seconds, or I just try to find a pattern when I should look at minimap. One of the ways that I've been using before, and one of my students was using as well, when you just like find a sound or create a sound with a beep noise every 3 seconds, 5 seconds, 7 seconds, doesn't matter. It's completely up to you how often you want to look at minimap. Of course, it's good to look at it every second, but most likely you will decrease the focus and like lose a CS or lose a lane due to it. And due to this beep noise will remind you to look at minimap. Let's say there is like completely zero sound, right? Like right now, right? And then it's like beep. And you know that it triggers something, right? You're like, why is the sound beeping? And you just, okay, I have to look at minimap. And let's say
you get super annoyed with it as well.
Yeah. And you can, let's say if the game around 25, 30 minutes, you can just like find it or create it like for a 1 hour sound, and you just, restart the track every game. And it's really simple. Even after laning phase, if you feel like, it's enough, you don't need it anymore, because maybe you're not playing silent, maybe there is not that much pressure on minimap, you can just like get rid of it. But this noise will let's say it will improve your like muscular memory, if it makes sense on English, right?
Yeah, it does. I mean, yeah.
And after some time, you'll be able to look at the minimap with a short period of time whenever you need. So I'm sure like this would help you to gain elo as well. If you die like one time less in a game, it's pretty good. I'm sure like maybe in 1 out of 10 games it will win you the game, and maybe this specific game will be the game in 1-1 promos, like let's say to another tiers that you want to get. One more note about vision and minimap is there are actually I want to show some tricks with vision, okay? That you guys are probably not aware of, okay? I want to show some tricks that you guys might not know about the vision, that the minimap might not save you, okay? So let's say your jungler plays the trinket here, okay? And I'm gonna show you something. It feels like this trinket is covering the area, right? So if you're playing mid lane, it feels like you're safe from this area, correct? It feels like it. But if actually enemy jungler goes from here, then you don't know it.
Okay, yeah, makes sense.
Even I'm gonna show you more, right? It feels like the ward is placed in the middle of the bush, right? Like let's forward it a little bit so our ward will disappear. Let's kill all the dummies that we have, and let's put a ward, let's say here, okay? And we're gonna put the dummy here. Right here. Let's see if the ward can see him. And it doesn't see it. So one of the tricks that League of Legends has currently is you can roam top lane like that if you know that this is worth it, and enemy top laner not gonna see you if you're gonna hug the ball. And same for mid lane ganks. There are a bunch of tips and tricks with vision. Let's say this trick, it actually works on top side, like it doesn't work with this bush. Like League of Legends map is actually not symmetric, so you can do a bunch of like tricks with wards. This is one of them.
Yeah, so that seems like really huge topic.
Minimap is important, but it's a good example where a minimap might be tricky, right? Because if you look at minimap, it's like, okay, there is no way I can gank from top side unless enemy top laner or jungler like goes around your blue buff. But actually, it's super simple. And of course, you guys should never forget there are some cheesy players who like to play Jarvan, Lee Sin, Nidalee, Shaco, everything that has a blink or dash, and they can do stuff like, they come in here, they jump in this bush, you have no vision, they wait for the cooldown of their dash, and they just gank you. So let's move on to another one about vision and minimap. I want to talk a little bit about team communication, right? And I want to start with the ping that is related both to minimap and both to vision is the word ping, right? Most of the players, even nowadays, don't use this word ping. And I honestly don't understand why. I don't know why people are not using this ping when this ping is super beneficial. let's say you go to interface, you go to hotkeys, you go to communication, you go down, yeah, and in communication there is a ping called there is a button called area is worded pink. Let's say for me worded is V. I don't know why. It just, for me it's really easy to press V, so I just binded it to V. I don't have anything else binded. Let's say whenever I'm laning, whenever I see enemy mid laner walking towards the bush, or I see that he has a pink ward in the back, and then suddenly, he comes back, he has no pink ward, and I spam ping my jungler like, okay, it's warded, so he will pass around it, okay? And I get so triggered every time my jungler, like, I pinged it maybe like once, or I even typed it warded, and I see my Xinjiao, when this is worded, I see my Xinjiao like walks like this and just like stands here. I'm like,
yeah, nice.
Okay.
Well,
and I don't think he's stupid, right? Most likely it's the guy who just plays mute all, and he just, get rid of the pings here, and he just mutes your ping, so he doesn't know that you pinged. But it's another, let's say ping is a visual communication, is a source of communications that gives more information to your teammates that they can use in order to play better, to execute ganks better, to execute teamfights better. So for sure, in case you guys are not using this ping, go to practice tool or go to custom game or next solo queue games that you guys go in. Escape, hotkeys, communication, area is worded ping. The most comfortable button for you to press, and start using this ping right away.
All right, yeah, so that makes a lot of sense, because sometimes, like, if you ping for in front of your bot laner or mid laner, that's really visual, and that makes that a lot easier to react to what's going on. So yeah, guys, that's something you really have got to pay attention to, like pinging and team communication, and probably, yeah, you definitely should rely on pings. And then if you didn't know this trick about the worded ping, then probably you've got to get it into your arsenal. So team communication, we talked about pings. How should we really use the chat for communication, or
personally,
any other tricks?
I think so. I feel like sometimes it's really hard to explain what exactly you want to do just through pings. Unfortunately, we still don't have the voice chat in League of Legends. I really hope that it we'll have it maybe in 2019, 2020. I feel like the game would become way more fun compared to what it is right now.
That depends on who you are playing with.
Yeah, for sure. But it's how it works in all the other games. So we talked about worded communication, right? But don't forget there are a lot of different types of pings that you guys can use, like the take care, or danger, etc., like help me. So of course, don't forget about the rest of the pings that you guys can use, because it's important. If you don't have voice chats, then these pings can explain your emotion, or can explain to your teammates what you want, instead of the words and etc. Then about the chat, in what situations you should use it? First one, let's say timing summoners is source of communication as well, right? First of all, you're timing it for yourself. Second of all, you're communicating to your teammates that enemy teammates who you timed summoners have no summoner, depends on what summoner you timed. Then when I use communication, first one, if I want to explain something important and I feel like it's going to win us the game. Let's say,
for example,
let's say we're going to come to it at the end about the tools. Let's say I joined the game, and let's say I'm playing my best champion, okay? I have like 70% win rate in 100 games with this champion, and I know if I get an advantage, I snowball. I check through, let's say, OpGG or Professor GG, whatever, that enemy mid laner is out of field. His first time in the champion, and this guy has like 50% win ratio, right? So I know he's not a smurf, he will not feel comfortable, and if I get advantage, I can snowball through him. So let's say when I join the game, I can just talk to my jungler, just like, hey, enemy mid is 50% win ratio, noob, GK, we're not gonna say noob, just 50% win ratio, like first time in the champion. If I get advantage, I'm just gonna snowball, right? And it might give you, if your jungler agrees with it, like, all right, maybe he checks you out, he sees like you're pretty good at your champions, and he'll help you get advantage, and then you might snowball. So this is a good example where you can help your team create, or believe in a plan that you think is the best in order to win the solo queue game, or just create a plan that might win you solo queue game. So it's just a simple example where
Yeah,
you can start, you can help your teammate start the game with the right mindset and with a clear plan. So your jungler, it's not like he'll like clear 6 camps and he'll like, okay, like what should I gank, right? But maybe before that, when you say it, he'll actually, okay, like if enemy mid laner is not good and my mid laner is smurfing, maybe I should just like camp mid lane, and he'll do like red camp, then he goes top lane crap, gank, blue buff, gank, and I'm like, okay, nice, like it's good to be 3-0. And if you get an advantage and you truly want to gain elo, I think if you're 3-0 at minute 4, minute 5, I think you should be able to win the game if you deserve what you want to get, unless of course unless your bot lane is like 0-10 and your top lane 0-10. But let's keep it this way, okay? Like your bot lane is not fitting, your top lane is not fitting. Let's say maybe they're average, because we all know these people who come in and say, who come in and say, I'm trying my best, I'm playing 10 times better than enemy mid laner, but my bot is fitting, my top is fitting. I personally never believe these stories. I always say to people who come into the chat, or people who are talking to me, I get like tons of messages like, how do I get elo? The simple advice that I give them: just 60 games out of 100 play better than your opponent on the same role. So let's say if you're a mid lane, 60% of the games out of 100 games you should play better than enemy mid laner. And if you're playing better than enemy mid, then you should get elo. If you don't in this amount of games, then I'm sorry, but something is weird with Riot system and MMR.
Yeah, true. It's quite easy to blame everything on your teammates, right?
Correct.
It's not the best approach. Absolutely, you first got to be paying attention to yourself. I mean, that's kind of basic, but a lot of people do forget about that for some reason. Okay.
A little bit more about communication, because there are a bunch of different sources of communication. Let's say it's a mid game, right? Like you guys want to play maybe around Herald, you guys might want to play around Dragon or Tier 2 tower. You can use the pings on minimap, right? You can ping the tower, so it will kind of give an idea to your team of what objective you want to play around. You can even just play around top. What I do, I usually, when I want to get elo and I feel like my mechanics are not that good, right? Let's say compared when I get like challenge in Russia, I feel like my mechanics are lower than the average of this elo that I'm playing, but my game knowledge is usually way higher. So let's say if I know that my mechanics are not that great, I'm trying to get advantage in some other way in game knowledge. So whenever the mini game comes, I try to shot call, and the only way to shot call for me is using chat, using pings, because there is no voice communication. So I try to say, play around top tower, play around Baron. I can say like Kassadin, go bot and split push, you have TP up. Or let's say if Dragon is in a minute and my bot lane and my jungler is top side, I like, guys, I don't know what you're doing top lane, but I'm gonna, spawn ping the Dragon, guys. The Dragon is up soon, so please, maybe, maybe recall and go bot lane. Like that's, I'm just using communication, trying to force the team that I want them to do. That's it. And I feel like it's important. I don't know, maybe I play like 6,000 games in my, maybe more, in League of Legends, like during my whole time, like coaching and playing.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe there are like 200, 300 games that I won only due to communication. Of course, sometimes you have a mute all and just chill, just play. You just want to press buttons, kill enemy laner, but I don't think it's the right way if you want to gain elo. I feel like if you want to gain elo, you have to communicate with your team, using chat, using pings, using everything that you have.
Yeah, that's true. Because sometimes people would emphasize the mechanical skill and try to, improve the micro game, whereas probably the macro game and general team communication and overall understanding of what's going on is way more efficient at gaining elo and just climbing the ladder and being a better player in general. I would personally say that macro game is more important than micro mechanical skills. I mean, if you agree with that. They are important as well, but
it depends, right? But if you look in 2018, if you look at 2018 Worlds, then it's like I see no macro. I see people fighting all over. So.
Oh yeah, well yeah, that's.
But
that's
for sure, like macro is still relevant, still important. If macro didn't exist, then the League of Legends probably didn't exist, because it would be ARM instead of Summoner's Rift.
All right. So there is one more question that this situation happens to all of us, and I'm talking about lose streaks. So what do you do with a lose streak? Because it's the end of the season, people are trying to kind of get as high as possible, and sometimes they might be on a lose streak, and that's really devastating. Sometimes we can lose 8, 9 or 10, or even some people, quite popular on Reddit as well, people would post something like, oh, I just lost 18 games in a row. What do you do about that? I mean, it might be difficult for
Um,
you mentally,
l-
and how do you recover? How do you
let's talk about the small lose streak, right? Right, for me, lose streak started at 3 games. It's like this streak, right? This 3 games.
Okay.
Um, what I do personally, but for me, let's say I evolved as a player, right? I started playing League of Legends in season 3, in the middle of season 3. I was 19 years old back then, I think so, or yeah, 19. Now I'm 23, just turned 23 2 months ago. And before, I would have a different type of hobby that I would do besides League of Legends. Let's say I lose 3 games, I might go like chill, play guitar, or like go play tennis, or just go outside, or like read a book. I would try to refresh my mindset so I completely forget about all the negativities that I get from lose streak, and then I would take my time, maybe like 30 minutes, an hour, and I would just play again. But the older I became, I felt like the lose streaks didn't affect me at all. In terms of,
Okay.
I have my motivation, I have my goal, and I understand. It depends why lose streaks happen. Let's say if I gave my best and I feel like I'm still motivated, I still have all the energy to keep grinding. I just keep grinding. But I feel like if I burn out and I queue in the next game just to queue because I'm mad because I lost too many games, then I'm like, okay, I sometimes I do it. It's called rage queue. It's called rage queue. I queue because I'm raging. I get in champ
Yeah.
select, and I understand that it will be like completely irrelevant game. Like I'm gonna lose due to me only, and I'll probably just dodge. Like I just get a -3 LP, then actually losing time and losing the game. I'd rather dodge, like go clear my mindset somehow, with the examples that I gave you. Maybe
Mhm.
take a shower, go watch a movie, go chill, like play with a pet, anything. Anything that makes you happy, anything that helps you like relieve stress, just go do it. Don't keep rage queuing. Um,
Okay.
that's
Makes
that's
sense.
the advice that I have. Just League of Legends is just a computer game at the end of the day, and it's, let's say, it's, of course, it's just a game. Why you have to be mad?
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, we just take it way too seriously, because we love it and hate it so much sometimes.
but it's true. It's true, right?
Yeah.
So, and of course, at the end of the season, it depends how much time you have, right? Let's say if you have 2 days left and you understand that you still need, let's say, the difference between wins and losses in order for you to get your elos that you're like wanna get, maybe like 15 games, then you might have to queue. But it completely depends. It completely depends on the. Oh, it should show you. Nice. It completely depends on the
Yeah.
motivation and goals that you have. And let's say a little bit about burnouts and the mindset and low streaks. Let's say sometimes I see people like they don't know how to fight with people who flame in solo queue. They don't know how to fight with people who are giving up. So my advice, let's say when I want to gain elo, I don't mute people.
Okay.
I don't mute people at first. At first. At first.
It
At
depends on
first,
how far it
when
goes.
when
Yeah.
I when I'm trying to communicate, or usually I communicate to them if I know that it will benefit him or us for the rest of the game, right? I might tell him, like buy this item or do this. But if I see that he's trolling, if he's like saying something offensive towards me or trolling, I would just mute him. But there is a chance that I would still like keep giving him advices till the rest of the game that he might follow it. But I always, let's say, respect how much time I have in order to give advice. And if I feel like it's not worth it, I'm not gonna say anything. And I
Yeah.
only mute people who I feel like there is no way, there is 0% chance that they might say something useful for the rest of the game. And about trolls, in my
Okay.
opinion, about trolls, like if it's troll, like what troll wants to do? Troll wants to get more attention, right? There is a famous
Yeah. They
quote.
need food. They need food. Yeah.
There is
Don't
a
feed the dog.
famous quote: "Don't feed the troll." So if there is a
Absolutely.
troll,
Absolutely.
then don't, just don't pay attention. Just mute him. It happens. It's online computer game. It happens in every game. There is a chance he might be on your team. There is a chance he might be on enemy team. the best thing you can do is just report him and move on. But
Yeah,
if there is
true.
troll, just try to communicate. Try to communicate with the rest of the team. Sometimes there were rare cases where I actually like untrolled the troll, where I'm like in a serious way, like we can actually win this game. Look, like our carry is fed, I am fed. Like I know you had a bad game. Just try to be positive. But if he tells you, I know there are death threats or like he wishing you like cancer, etc., just don't pay attention, mute him, and move on. Like
Yeah, fair
you
enough.
gave him a shot, he didn't accept it, just mute it. Don't waste your nerves, don't waste your energy, don't waste your time, because you need it more in order to get elo and not to fight with some other guy in front of different PC, maybe like 1,000 kilometers away from you, who you'll there is a big chance that you'll never ever see him like in your life or even in the game.
Fair enough, fair enough. At the same time, I'd like to add that even though we talk about other players on the team, I'd like to add that you've got to be paying attention to yourself as well as a player because playing in the jungle, it's usually a lot of stress because everyone is trying to blame. Oh, why didn't you come gank this lane? Why didn't you do that? Why didn't you do this? And I think everyone should kind of look at themselves first, and then your flaming is not going to do anything, and this is what we've got to head
That's
for.
true. That's true.
You know what I mean?
What the mindset that I'm trying to give my players, both when they play solo queue, and especially when we play scrims, when we play competitive, don't do anything, or especially don't say anything out loud, or don't chat anything that will not benefit you for this result of current game. Let's say
Absolutely.
what many professionals, people, especially rookies who just like start playing competitively, what they do, they like try to communicate about mistakes that just happened. But let's say the current situation won't happen in the game, right? Let's say there are some cases where the same mistake might happen, and you need to solve it to make sure that you win the team fight later on. But most of the cases, it just you think about the past, you don't think about the present, you don't think about the future, and that's why you're like focusing too much on the stuff that happened instead of focusing on how to win the game. So
Yeah, it's not going to help you. It's not
yeah,
going to help you win, right?
if your teammate fucked up, don't tell him fucked up that he fucked up. Like you're wasting time, you're wasting your brain power in terms of thinking how to get advantage, how to win the game, how to snowball, or like how to get back into the game, and you make him feel even worse. Because if he fucked up, most likely he knows he fucks up. So just
Well, yeah, true. Yeah, so that's like to summarize that. You guys, don't pay attention to all the toxicity that you might see in the chat. It's not going to help you win games. And at the same time, be positive and try not to say bad stuff on the chat, especially like I gave this example about the junglers. It's pretty difficult to play in a jungle because if I compare it to more like things like football, being a goaltender, right? Everyone blames you if you miss it. So you've got to be positive, and then because you're playing as a team, and you all try to win here. Uh, yeah. So I think we've got one more thing to cover probably before we summarize it all up. But guys, before we proceed, talking about raising your elo, if you head to morelegends.com, we've got a nice promo code for you to use, and the promo code is, if you look at my nickname, it's exactly the same. It's OctoCrash211. Okay, so if you use this promo code, you'll be able to to get 200 gold coins, and the promo code is active for 3 days, so it doesn't really matter how many purchases you do in these 3 days. Every time you'll get bonus gold that you can use on the website to get your match analysis, to see some educational videos, to get some quests, to take part in the weekly cup, or with some nice prizes. So please go ahead to morelegends.com, use the promo code OctoCrash211, and have fun and raise your elo. And okay, Sharks, I think we've got to summarize after it. Before we cover the next point, which was the drafting stage and the tools. We already touched on it a little bit. Maybe we can summarize it and cover the main resources and main tools that you can use during the drafting stage, and just talk about the drafting stage in general, because it's kind of an art in its own, isn't it?
sure. That is correct. I would like to start from the tools that we have in client, right? So we got a new tool that Riot started using this year, where you can pre-pick your champion, right? You can declare the champions that you want to play instead of like typing in chat, like, don't ban this champion, don't ban A, don't ban B. You just select and your teammates can see it, what you selected. And they get a pop-up notification in case they want to ban your champions and like, are you sure you want to ban your teammate's champion? So whenever you accept the queue, don't run away right away, right? Just like, if you have your best champion that that you win most of the games and you want to play this champion in order to get your elo, just select it right away so your teammates not gonna ban the champion. I see this most of the times. There are some trolls when that people actually like ban the champions that you selected on purpose, but it happens rarely.
Yeah.
You should still select your champion in most of the cases. That's number one. The other one, let's say if your champion pool is big enough in order to counterpick the enemy role, and you want to get the counterpick, and let's say your first or second or third or fourth in champion select, feel free to ask your teammates to trade if you have like many League of Legends champs. Like, ask them if they want any first pick, any second pick in case you're first or second or third, and ask them if they have your champion or if they have these champions. Because if, let's say, if you want to play trash, if you want to play some assassins, if you want to play some aggressive junglers like Xin Zhao, if enemy picks Graves or Kindred, you can pressure them hard with Xin Zhao. In enemy, picks some Nami or some Karma or some Sona, you can look to get Pike, Trash, Blitzcrank if you play the champs in order to pressure. So try to get the most after the drafting phase in order to get elo. That's let's say the simple one. It's the one where you only use client, you only use the right mindset and communication with the teammates in order to get into the game with the most comfortable situation in order for you to win the game. Then the other one, the tools that we might use. Personally, I'm using one tool. I'm going to give you guys an example with the Professor GG. What you guys should do whenever you guys join the game and let's say there is a loading screen, what I'm doing when I'm gaining elo is checking my teammates, how comfortable are they in champions that they're playing, are they a win streak, how good they're performing on this champ. Why? First one, let's say I'm playing jungle, right? So I have a 70% Draven, 70% win ratio Draven that looks like usually wins the game if he gets a couple kills. So I might just like do all my jungle pass, all my jungle passes towards bot lane. So I give him advantage, and then I just pray, for him to carry me. For me, that's a good way, like due to, let's say if there is a first time mid laner that plays, let's say Brent for the first time, and you're like, you're not sure if he's gonna go 3-0 and he's gonna win you the game, because probably he doesn't know perfectly the champion, he doesn't know the mechanics, he doesn't know how to do combos correctly. That's why, let's say, scouting your teammates, scouting enemy players might benefit you. Let's say what I'm doing, especially as jungler, I love doing it. I go to, let's say, Professor GG, and I see that enemy top lane is on 10 games losing streak. And guess what I'm doing? I'm coming top lane level 2, I'm coming top lane level 3, and I'm gonna keep coming top lane until we finish the game. Right? Because, let's say, usually when people like on losing streaks, they're tilted, so you wanna abuse it, right? They're not as focused, they're raging, they're trying to play even more aggressive, they're over aggressive, and you just punish them for this. So that's two simple examples why it benefits you scouting your team and why it benefits you scouting enemy team, right? And it's, we gave an example with jungle, but I can give the same example with all the other roles. Let's say even if you're playing support and you see that you have an out-of-field marksman, or that this guy is not confident or is not good, so you should not expect him to follow you up in 2 versus 2 all the time. You should not expect him to dominate the lane. You should not expect him to like play in team fights really well. So you might send your resources, maybe roam mid lane or on top lane with mobbies after, but not like, all the time, but when it's good. Or maybe if you get a nice foe, maybe you should not put it on your AD carry. Maybe your mid laner is playing Cassiopeia and he's doing really well. Maybe you should put some resources in other part of the map, or like play with your jungler a little bit. That just, the scouting through OBGG or through Professor GT might give you a better idea like what to expect from your teammates, so you're like more prepared and informed about what's going to happen in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I really like that trick, and I would really hate you if we played together if you did that to me, catching someone on a lose trick and trying to, because on a lose trick, you are not confident about what you can actually do with your champion anymore. And, some people really break down after a lose trick, and then just, camping that guy, trying to knock him down every single time. That's a really cool strategy. But again, I would probably hate you for doing that to me. All right. So yeah, guys, again, drafting is, drafting is your chance to outplay your opponents even before the game starts. So why not use all the available tools for it? And we mentioned some of them, like a professor.gg, etc. There is many others on the internet. You can easily find them. So before we head down to the question section, let's just maybe summarize it a little bit, if you don't mind. And well, ultimately, I would summarize it myself first, and I would say that ultimately there is no silver bullet to get elo very, very fast. However, you can really work on a combination of factors and combinations of your skills in different aspects of the game. And today we covered some of those. And then we started with timing summoner spells, providing vision. But as we said, providing vision is not really enough. You've got to be utilizing it. You've got to be using the wards that you actually placed in the game, paying attention to the minimap. And then one trick that I really like that you told us about, Sharks, is that having this kind of click, that clicks every 3 or 5 seconds to remind you that you've constantly got to be paying attention to the minimap. We also talked about pings, and especially about the ward ping that people don't really use that often. We covered things like team communication and how important it is to use pings, and also the chat. Obviously not for flaming, but for good things. We talked about dealing with loose streaks, and then talked about the end season mindset and how you can fight toxicity without being toxic yourself. All right, and the last stage that we just covered was how to draft, how to go through the drafting stage and outplay your enemy at the beginning, even before the game actually started. So I think it's now time to drop into the comments and see what we've got. And yeah, guys, if you got any questions, please send them here. Oh, there is one question I see, Sharks. Can you use word capish sometime?
I don't even know what it means.
No, nobody does.
But I guess it comes from kappa, no? It's like a
Yeah, it does.
It's like an adjective, right? So
yeah, it's kind of capish. Yeah, like 7-ish. Yeah, guys, questions.
there was a question.
Let me see.
There was a question before.
Yeah.
About I remember about keys. Someone asked me about keys of.
Yeah, someone. Let me just find that so we can call that champion out. We've got. Yeah, give me a sec. Yeah.
Yeah, I see. Prade
Oh, yeah,
DGML Sharks tells us about your
Oh yeah.
binds and what key you bind, its worded ping and so on. I
Yeah,
use it
I think
on.
you missed it. I think you missed it during the stream. So maybe you can talk about very briefly about your bindings and say the key bindings that you've got and you're using right now.
Okay, for the it's worded ping, I use V, alright, but if you guys asking about normal cast or smart cast, what I personally use and what I advise people to use without shift, let's say just QWER, I have the smart cast, the regular smart cast that just that uses the ability on a click, and I have the smart cast with indicators with shift. So whenever, let's say I'm playing Ezreal, I wanna like snipe with my Q or with my ulti, and I need some time to target to make sure that I hit the spell. Then I use the shift, the smart cast with indicator, so I can see the range indicator, and I use my and the ability flies out when I release the button. So I just click on the button, I wait, I make sure that I'm ready to hit my ability, and then I release it. That's personally what I do. Same with wards. If I want to place it fast, I just use the 4. My ward is my trinket is on the 4, and if I have a side stone, it's on 3. And if I want to make sure that I put it on the corner of the bush, on the side, then I press shift, and it actually shows you have like a green color of your mouse cursor whenever it's in the bush, and I make sure that it's in the bush, and then I release it, and that's it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean the smart cast is the kind of thing in its own, and then I mean if you know how to play a champion, that would be I mean you talked about this thing when you press the button when the cast the spell is being cast after you release the button, but then you've got a chance to aim, and that really depends if you're really good with your champion, I think, because that would be a good advice to listen to and probably start using. But you'll get another question. But I mean, if the champion is, you've got to learn the mechanics first until you're comfortable with it. Quite obvious, but don't forget about this. Now we've got some more questions coming in. From MoreLegends, surprisingly. Hello, guys. Any small tips about how to snowball your early advantage? That's a very good question.
Help other lanes due to pressuring.
Yeah.
Let's say if you're bot lane, if you cannot get the bot lane tower, look to get dragon, look to Mitro mid lane, look to get in river more. Just help other lanes to recover as well in case they're behind. Or it depends on the situation. The other one is the pink wards. Let's say buy pink wards, use pink wards in order to trap, to pressure, to deny enemy laner even more. And there are no general advices in order how to snowball early game. It completely depends on the situation and what role you're playing. Just I would say the one always have a plan in mind what to do next. Let's say even if you're snowballing, when let's say you're ganking top lane, you know that the gank gonna succeed. Always think like what you're gonna do next. Let's say when you're sure that your plan A is gonna succeed, there is no way you're gonna fail. Think about what's next, so you're not gonna lose time. And you always, a man with a plan is a good man. So always have a plan in mind.
Okay.
And there is an example, right? For instance, our team got first blood on invade. How we could abuse it? It depends who you got first blood on, right? If you got the first blood on enemy jungler, then you know that your jungler will be ahead in tempo most of the times. He should be like around half a level ahead, and you might help your jungler to keep pressuring enemy jungler. Let's say try to cover the river more, try to be first in order to rotate if he's gonna keep invading enemy jungler. If you got it on support, maybe you got together with summoner, together with the first blood, you got the flash. Maybe times the flash, keep camping this support or AD carry, depends who you killed. I'm gonna say, so if you killed enemy support on first blood, and then your jungler comes level 2, kills support again, and the support is 0-0 by 2:30, there is a big chance this guy is kind of mentally out of the game.
Yeah, true. I was about to say, yeah, this guy's out of the game pretty much. Okay, yeah. So there is, well, obviously, don't feed also. Yeah, we've got another question, and that's, yeah, again, quite a popular question. Is that I play with a friend, and then in what lanes do we best play to have the most influence on the game? I mean, quite often you would bring someone into League of Legends, like a person who is not really familiar with the game, who wants to grow in skill and elo. What roles would you suggest picking in this case? For example, you want to play as a duo. Obviously, we can talk about the support and bot like pre-made, but maybe some other combinations that can work.
It depends. It completely depends what they're comfortable on. Like I wouldn't say if you guys like play jungle and top, you guys should switch to mid AD carry just because you think it might have a bigger impact on the game. I would say stick to what you guys comfortable with. But overall, I would say jungle and mid probably is the strongest overall. The reason why, because it's easier to snowball the game due to you being able to roam as to both top lane and bot lane. Let's say jungle top is really strong as well, but from top lane you kind of don't really have like access to roam bot lane because you either need like to push out really deep and go bot lane from base, or you might TP. I feel like jungle mid is the strongest. Then I would say it's kind of equal with the rest. I feel like jungle top is equal with the bot lane. Jungle support is fine. Jungle AD is fine. I can give you a good example. It depends on champions, right? Let's say if I'm playing against a duo of Ivern and Tristana, for me that's a pretty scary duo, right? It's like utility jungler who's gonna buff his duo Q hyper carry whole game. So I'm a little bit scared. What I would say, you guys should just like find doesn't matter what roles you play, you might find a champions who have synergy, who are like good playing together in one team, and just stick to it. And don't it's just a computer game, right? And if you guys are not like challenger players, it's high diamond players, don't put yourself outside of comfort zones that far, right? Like still try to enjoy the game, because at the end, even I'm gonna tell you, like the League of Legends is the best, and let's say gives me the most joy whenever it brings the good vibes. I'm gonna tell you, even during scrims, like we can scream some LCS teams, and even during the scrims, we might pause a game for like 3 minutes. You can pause in custom games, because some people are just like, they burst out laughing because something funny happened. The interaction, like it's still all about the vice, right? Like in a 10 years and 5 years, it's gonna be all about the memories that happened before.
Yeah, true. That's actually one important aspect that quite often we keep forgetting about is that it's, yeah, guys, this is a game. Even though we take it seriously, it's still a game, and the main purpose at the end of the day is to have fun, right? So yeah, if you guys having fun playing, and if your champions have good synergy, having fun playing them, then pretty much any combination would work. But as you said, probably the strongest influence would be like the jungler and
It's just
mid.
the easier one due to just the way how League of
Yeah, yeah,
Legends is made and due to Summoner's Rift, you know. Just
yeah.
from jungle mid S2, you guys can pressure everyone from enemy team.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so I think we've covered all we wanted for now. And guys, if you've got any more questions, then we're happy to answer them. No, I think. Oh, no, go.
Go play.
Oh yeah, let's go play. Yeah, sure, sure. See you
I'm
in the
excited.
summer.
I'm excited to
Yeah,
play.
yeah, definitely. Yeah. So yeah, we kind of did a small summary of that, and I think we should finish up. You got anything? Famous last words, Sharks.
Follow me on Twitter.
Okay, good.
At Coach Charts. So I just got the 2,300 followers, so maybe it's time to hit the 3K. Oh, Vertical joined. My
Yeah.
friend Vertical joined. Long time no see.
Hello
Opinions
there.
on of Ari top lane.
Ari top lane.
Oh
Ari
my
with
god.
this and that wrong.
Yeah, we saw Ari was played bot lane competitive as well. So
Yeah, that's true. But Ari top, top. We say that
I
top
mean,
lane
come
is
on,
not played for the
he's just
features.
trolling
Yeah.
me. Like I remember we played Dokyo and he was playing like Ari top lane in my Dokyo, and I think he was actually crushing. That's why he's asking me this question.
All right.
He
Yeah.
just was he just wants me to raise his ego even more. Not elo, but ego.
Oh yeah. So that's for some people support as well. All right, guys. So should we finish right here? And then yeah, guys, follow this. Follow Shark's channel here on YouTube, on Twitter as well, and please don't forget to visit MoreLegends for League of Legends guides and weekly cup, and also quests that make you a better player. So thank you everyone for tuning in, and guys, as always, good luck in your solo queue.